What's going on, everyone? So, the Washington Wizards, they have been kind of in the forefront of buying players out. They bought out like three, I think, three or four already, something like that, and are expected to potentially buy out even more. So, per Sam Amico, the Khris Middleton as well as CJ McCollum are not expected to be part of the Washington Wizards' long planned future. And of course, this leads to, hey, we've gotten reports like that about Marcus Smart, about, Rashawn Holmes, and they ended up buying them out and getting off of them. Now, either of those guys I would love to have on the Lakers if they are bought out and they want to come to the Lakers. I would rather have Khris Middleton than a CJ McCollum. The big problem with Khris Middleton is, I wouldn't mind both, and we'll touch on both here in a moment. But my problem with Khris Middleton is it's the health, right? The guy just cannot stay healthy to save himself. Right? And he's also, there are questions about, a bit of a decline, right? But you look at last year, 12 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists on 48% from the floor. So still efficient, still good, but he's 33 years old. He'll be 34 here in a couple weeks, which I don't mind. Right? Like I said it before, are we trying to win now or are we trying to win 5 years from now? Because if we're trying to win now and Luka wants to win right now, I don't care how old somebody is. I care about, can they perform? Can they deliver? Right? We're in an age where 35-year-olds aren't what they were even 5 years ago. Somebody 35, it was like they were washed. You got a lot of guys now in the league. Still the top players in the league are all like 35. You look at Steph and KD and LeBron and all these guys are all older. Right? And even some of these guys, Khris Middleton coming off the bench in a role as a role guy, I think could do wonders for this team. Imagine having Marcus Smart and Khris Middleton right off the bench with, a Jared Vanderbilt or Jake LaRavia, right? And then if you can go and upgrade with like a Nikola Vucevic or something like that at the center position, I don't mind. Yes, I want youth, I want athleticism, I want speed, I want all of those things. But so does everyone else. And the guys that are readily available right now aren't that. Right? But if the Lakers could go do something where maybe you go trade for an Andrew Wiggins at that point, like if the Lakers know, hey, we can go get Khris Middleton and like a Nikola Vucevic, they might be willing. That might be worth at that point going to pony up what you need to pony up in order to land a player like a Andrew Wiggins, because we're not just getting Andrew Wiggins. We're getting Andrew Wiggins, Khris Middleton, and a Nikola Vucevic, right? And this is why I keep saying, like, I want the Lakers to be patient. Let's get through this kind of buyout wave. As we get closer to training camp, which we're still 2 months away from, but as we get closer to training camp, the buyouts won't be as regular, or the reports of the buyouts won't be as regular, because teams will basically kind of have an idea of who they want going into training camp. Trades will kind of become a little more prominent, as you usually see, because teams are going to want to get off of, a guy or two. Okay, Portland, right? As we get closer to training camp, they might look at it as like, all right, let's get off of Middleton, let's get off of Robert Williams, because, we want to go with our young guys. We want to go with these guys over those two. And if we go into training camp and then in the regular season, we're going to have to find minutes for those guys. And it just doesn't make sense, right? Situations like that. Or Miami, if they end up trading for DeMar DeRozan or doing, something else, right? They might go, okay, fine, let's get off Andrew Wiggins. Let's kind of meet the Lakers in the middle somewhere on an Andrew Wiggins type move. And then now that might add more incentive. But in the meantime, I do think you should, if you're the Lakers, look at the potential buyout candidates and kind of keep an ear to the ground and see. Again, there's guys like Jeremy Grant who is rumored, and you have guys like again, Nikola Vucevic, and there's talks that, originally there were talks like they might not buy him out until the season's over, but there's now talk coming out that like it might actually be in the offseason, because Nikola Vucevic couldn't go to the type of team that he wants, right? Because teams that are over the aprons, they wouldn't be able to sign him, right? But right now, any team that he wants to go to could sign him. So just things like that to keep an eye on. And then you look at a team like Washington, who's kind of just moving off of their old guys to make way for the young guys. Because you think, if you keep Khris Middleton, you have several guys that you want to play that spot that are young, that you're developing, that you're working on. He's got to get minutes. Right? Otherwise, you're going to have an upset, frustrated Khris Middleton. So it's better just get off him now so you don't have to worry about that. You're not going to be able to trade him given his contract and where he's at. Kind of wipe your hands clean. Everyone looks good. Everyone's happy. Now you don't have that, like, oh man, if I get traded to Washington, it sucks. It's like, no, Washington's willing to work with you. Right? Like it looks good all around. Same thing with the CJ McCollum, right? And both these guys are expiring contracts anyway, right? So it's just like you save yourself a little money, right? Doesn't hurt, and they're gonna fall off. And you're just gonna let them walk anyway. So why does it matter? Right? Buy them out now. Now, again, Khris Middleton, I'd really like to bring on. I think he's somebody that could potentially help with the Lakers, especially. I mean, even in a starting role. If he could stay healthy, I wouldn't hate it. I mean, talk about a guy that could be a legit two-way guy. I do think that there is still a very good version of him out there. It's just, can he stay healthy and on the basketball court? Because that's been the big problem with him. But CJ McCollum, same thing. He'll be 34 in September. He's, again, an older guy, but he's one of like a handful of guys that have averaged, I think it's like 25-4 or something like that, or 24-4, like every year, the last like 15 years or whatever, 10 years or something like that. So he's a guy that I wouldn't mind in a bench role, especially if you're getting him on a vet minimum. And we've talked about, Bradley Beal and, if DeMar DeRozan gets bought out and stuff. Like CJ McCollum, I wouldn't hate if he ends up becoming an option as well, because I think he could give you some bench production, give you some playmaking, floor spacer that can knock down the three ball. You even look at last year, he averaged 21.1 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists on 44.4% shooting. So again, a guy that once again gives you kind of that floor spacing, gives you a veteran, gives you a guy that can come in, slot in, play a role, knows his role, would be probably more than willing to accept that kind of backup role for a Lakers team. And I think, he's a guy that could really kind of elevate this team on any given night. Right? And, he's a guy that has played the last few years. I mean, last year he played 56 games, but he played 66 and 75 the few years before. Last year, he shot 37.3% from three-point range on 8.2 attempts. You want to talk about volume. 8.2 attempts was 37% from three-point range. The last handful of years, 43% on 8.4 attempts, 39% on 7.2 attempts, 39.4% on 7 attempts, 38.4% on 8 attempts. I mean, he's a career just under 40% three-point shooter, 39.7%. So he's a career basically 40% three-point shooter on volume. Like, that's the other thing, on volume. Right? Because you see a lot of guys that are really good shooting the three ball, but it's like their career average is like 2 attempts. No, he's 6.5 attempts on his career, and it's only gone up year after year after year, and he's able to maintain that level of consistency. So I wouldn't mind bringing in a guy like a CJ McCollum if he was capable, but I just think Khris Middleton, if healthy, kind of gives you more of what you need as far as like the two-way, the size, the wing, a guy that can kind of play the Andrew Wiggins role for you in a lot of ways. The problem is, you look at the last season, he played 37 games. He played 23 with Milwaukee and then 14 with the Washington Wizards. That's not great. But the problem is, he hasn't been very healthy much, period. The last time he played over 60 games was the 2021-2022 season. Since then, he's played 33 games, 55 games, 37 games, and 37 games. Sorry, I'm looking at the 2 years previous, right? So that's the problem. He's a guy that just can't stay healthy and on the floor. But you're talking about a guy that's legit, 6'7", 6'8", could play 2 through 3 on occasion 4, but he's kind of more that 2-3 type of guy. So, I mean, even if you were to trade for an Andrew Wiggins, you could at times go with like Luka, Middleton, Wiggins, LeBron, and Ayton, and kind of have that length and that size and that versatility out there, because Middleton would be capable of doing that. And even three-point shooting last year with Washington, he was atrocious. He was 27.7% on 3.4 attempts. But with Milwaukee, he was 41%. He's a career 38.7% guy, so almost a 39% three-point shooter on 4.7 attempts. You look at the previous year with Milwaukee, he shot 38.1% on 4.5 attempts. So he's a guy that, again, can give you some three-point shooting, give you some off ball. It's very different when you're playing on Milwaukee with Giannis and the attention that he attracts, as opposed to you're going to Washington, where I think he'd benefit a lot with a team like the Lakers, who have Luka, who have a LeBron that can go and make plays and create for him. Even an Austin Reeves can go and make plays to where Middleton will just get better quality look. Same thing for a CJ McCollum, right? And they're both guys that can put the ball on the deck, rebound, do multiple things out there. Khris Middleton's a guy that can defend better. He's not the defender he once was, but he's still, I look at him more in a bench role, right? Like he's not a guy I'd want to bring in as our starter. I would want to bring him in as, again, a guy off the bench, slotted in at or 2 or something like that, right? You're trading a Gabe Vincent, doing whatever. Like I said, because in order to sign any of these guys, you'd have to make a trade. So, like I said, you're doing like Rui, Gabe Vincent, Dalton Connect to go bring in like an Andrew Wiggins. Boom, Andrew Wiggins slots in. Or maybe you're doing the same type of package to go get a Thibault and Robert Williams, right? But you're opening up roster spots in the process, freeing up the cap space in order to sign these guys. And then now you're bringing in Khris Middleton, to where now you have a Marcus Smart, Khris Middleton, right? Matisse Thybulle, Jared Vanderbilt, Jake LaRavia, and then a Robert Williams type thing. Or if you do the Andrew Wiggins route, again, maybe you're bringing in a Nikola Vucevic with the Khris Middleton type thing, and then kind of have that same kind of rotation, just instead of Robert Williams would be a Nikola Vucevic. So if you can bring them both in, I'm all for it. Sign me up. But let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.